The Bermuda Triangle. A phenomena of strange happenings located between the coast of Florida and the Caribbean islands, aptly named for the location in which the area forms a triangle: Florida, Puerto Rico, and its namesake, Bermuda. Ghost ships have been a staple of maritime history since the day humans decided to set sail and explore the vast waters of our planet. What exactly would cause a captain and her entire crew to suddenly disappear from their vessel? Why do we have such a fascination with the sea and the daring souls who risk their lives to brave the forces of nature? And what is it that causes such oddities in the Bermuda Triangle? Welcome to part 1 of the ships of the Bermuda Triangle on Dangerous Tides. From the beginning of the golden age of sailing, the history of the Bermuda Triangle is almost as fascinating as the ships and aircraft lost within its waters. However, the Bermuda Triangle, aka the Devil's Triangle, didn't get its name till 1964, when it was coined by journalist Vincent Gaddis for the pulp magazine Airgressy. Though incidents were known as far back as King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella's financing of the expeditions to these regions, the first documented incident in the United States occurred when the USRC Pickering was considered lost at sea, with Master Commandant Benjamin Hillard and all hands never to be heard from again. Since then, there are an estimated 50 ships and 20 aircraft that have disappeared in this region without a trace. Some ships, such as the Caroll A.deering, had been lost within the region only to be found on the east coast of the United States. Others, such as the SS Cotopaxi, had radioed a distress call to report they were taking on water, only to be found a century later. Search and rescue missions have often been said to have vanished when sailing or flying into the area. For this two-part episode of Dangerous Tides, we'll be discussing both the Caroll A.deering and the SS Cotopaxi. Those of the Carolinas know both of these ships, as the Bermuda Triangle is just a part of American history as it is a part of the world's. On August 26, 1920, the Deering was scheduled to set sail from Hampton Roads, Virginia. The captain for the voyage was one William M. Merritt, a veteran of the sail, and the first mate was his son, S.E. Merritt. With a crew of both experienced and younger sailors alike from across the globe, it had been reported that Merritt, a partial owner of the ship, didn't like the crew and didn't want to sail with them. 3 days after they embarked, William fell seriously ill, thus requiring both him and his son to leave the ship. Willis B. Wormel, a retired shipmaster, and Charles B. McLean were hired as captain and first mate respectively. On August 29, 1920, the Deering was scheduled to set sail for Buenos Aires, Argentina at the height of the coal boom, leaving Lewes, Delaware on December 9, 1920, as a largely uneventful voyage. The Deering eventually made a stop in Rio de Janeiro a month later in late November of 1920. The crew was given shore leave, and Wormel arranged a meeting with good friend Captain Goodwin. Wormel expressed concerns with the first mate's behavior and the engineer Herbert Bates, citing the man as reliable. On December 2, 1920, the crew departed at a ballast from Rio de Janeiro to Norfolk, Virginia. Arguments between Worrell and McLean were reported on a stop in Barbados, with McLean threatening, "I'll kill you before it's over, old man," before being jailed for public intoxication. Other reports in Barbados cited from two captains, Hugh Norton of the Augusta W. Snow being one of them. Wormel was having problems with McLean. McLean also requested a transfer from the Deering to the Snow, citing complaints about Wormel and the crew, but Norton refused. Wormel would eventually bail McLean out of jail before disembarking from Bridgetown, Barbados on January the 9th, 1921. The Frying Pan Shoals lightship reported sighting the Deering on January 23rd, just after 5 p.m., located off of Cape Fear, North Carolina. On January 29, 1921, the Caroll A.deering was spotted at 4:30 in the afternoon by Cape Lookout Shoals lightship with both crews in communication. The last photograph of a fully manned Deering would be taken by James Steele, the engineer of the lightship. The keeper, Thomas Jacobson, documented the encounter as follows. 5-mast schooner Caroll A.deering in passing bound north. Reported having lost both anchors and chains off Frying Pan Shoal. Asking to be reported, but the ship's wireless was out of communication. Was unable to get in touch with passing vehicles. A man on board other than the captain hailed the lightship and reported that the vessel had lost both anchors while riding out the gale south of Cape Fear, and asked to be reported to its owners. The crewman wasn't acting, speaking, or looking like an officer. He was standing on the quarterdeck, and all the crew were assembled there, which was cited as most unusual. The physical description did not match that of Captain Wormel, and aside from this, the vessel appeared to be in good shape, according to the crew. After this last report, the information is hazy. Just after the Deering passed the Cape Lookout Shoals LV-80, a mysterious steam vessel was sighted by the crews. Signal flags were displayed as RQK, stating they were anchored and requesting communication, along with 4 signal blasts that were audible for 5 miles. The steamer didn't slow down, instead turning east and picking up speed, with the crew on board unfurling a canvas to cover the nameplate. Captain Henry Johnson of the SS Lake Elon reported the day before that the Deering was at her final sighting. A trade wind from the southeast pushed the Deering towards Cape Hatteras, passing the Elon at 5:45 in the afternoon. Aside from a strange course, there was nothing off about the schooner, with Johnson stating there were a couple of other ships in the vicinity steering parallel to the Deering. Afterwards, the Elon would sight the Diamond Shoals LV-72 at 7 p.m., passing it at 8:32. On January 31st, 1921, at 6:30 in the morning, the Caroll A.deering was sighted aground on a sandbar at Diamond Shoals, a location notorious for shipwrecks off the shore of Cape Hatteras. Surfman C.P. Brady A. Gray of the U.S. Coast Guard reported the vessel was offshore and was sent for multiple surfboards to attempted rescues, but the waves were too big and crashed the crew on the shoals a quarter mile from the vessel. Keeper K.C. Gaskill of the Creeds Hill U.S. Coast Guard Station noted that the Deering was stripped of all lifeboats with no sign of life on board. The crew apparently left in their own boats as a ladder was hanging across from the side. The USRC Seminole was dispatched to attempt another rescue on February 1st, 1921, but was unable to get Deering to port due to the rough seas. Finally, the USRC Manning and the wrecker tug Rescue managed to get close and identify the Caroll A.deering boarding the schooner in relatively calm conditions. The crew noted that the food in the galley was still laid out in preparation for a meal. 3 ship cats were found, but the crew disappeared without a trace. There was no sign of personal belongings, navigational equipment, or ship logs, save from 3 different sized pair of boots in the captain's quarters. The spare bed appeared to have been slept in and the handwriting on the map changed on January 23rd, and red lights were run up the mast to signal the ship was out of control. The steering gear was disabled, and the charts were found scattered in the master's quarters. Many questions and rumors spread around the Deering's last sighting, the largest one concerning the fate of the crew. 5 departments of the government, including the Department of Commerce, Treasury, Justice, Navy, and State, launched an investigation on the Deering. On March 20th, 1921, one Caroll A. McClellan was issued an A.B. Seaman certificate by the local board of steamboat inspectors in Portland, Oregon, after the Deering's dereliction. The Department of Justice followed up with an inquiry into the man's address and movements, only to find that Caroll McClellan was an untraceable person who gave false information and was never heard from again. On April 21st, 1921, a man claiming to have found the last message from the Deering on Buxton Beach, North Carolina, which read as follows.
Deering captured by oil-burning boat. Something like chaser. Taking off everything. Handcuffing crew. Crew hiding all over the ship. No chance to make escape. Find her. Please notify the headquarters of the Deering.
This was later proven to be a hoax. On September 14th, 1921, 2 Danish men were listed as crew for the Kronenberg, set to depart Valparaiso, Chile, for Hampton Roads, Virginia. The FBI wanted to interview them due to having identical names of Deering crew members, but no interview was given due to the Kronenberg having never left their home port of Rotterdam, Netherlands. And the government officials did not assist in the case. On December 31st, 1921, the consul of Veracruz, Mexico, reported another Danish vessel, the Tranquebar, given clearance for Galveston, Texas, on the day. 2 more crew members with identical names to the ones on the Deering were found to have matched the descriptions, but when questioned by the FBI, both had alibis at the time of the Deering's final voyage. Information was requested from Denmark to validate their claims, but it was never received and the 2 vanished. The investigation came to a close in late 1922 with no official findings relating to the crew of the Caroll A. Deering. The wreck of the Deering was considered a navigational hazard by the time an investigation began and was dynamited and scuttled by the USRC Seminole in deep water. A section of the bow was found washed ashore on Oricoke Island before being washed ashore by a hurricane to Hatteras Island, where parts were taken and put on display in the village. Many theories surrounded what happened to the Deering before landing ashore on that fateful day in January. Did the crew mutiny before it was found? Were they kidnapped by pirates? Were they captives of Bolshevik revolutionaries? Was it commandeered by rum runners avoiding capture? Or was it evacuated before hurricanes rocked the sea? We may never know what happened to the Deering, but what we do know is that it's an integral part of U.S. maritime history and will continue to fascinate generations to come. May the fair winds guide you through dangerous tides.